Welcome back to Ignite. Want more of what you've been watching? Stay connected to Ignite and every Now Media TV favorite, live or on demand, anytime you like. Download the free Now Media TV app on Roku or iOS and unlock nonstop bilingual programming in English and Spanish. Now, for those of you that are on the move, you can also catch the podcast version right from our website at www.nowmedia.tv, where from business and news to lifestyle, culture, and beyond, Now Media TV is streaming around the clock, ready whenever you are. Now, I'm here with Vikita Poindexter, who's sharing her expertise on leadership transformation. In this segment, we're going to talk about something that determines the heart of every organization: hiring for values. We know that too often leaders focus on skills and experiences, only to realize that a person doesn't fit the team's purpose or culture. So the challenge for leaders is that hiring based on qualifications can create a culture clash, can create misalignment and high turnover. When values don't align, performance and morale truly suffer. So, Vikita, how do you help organizations identify core values worth hiring for?
Sure. So first of all, my philosophy is hire slow, but fire fast. And so taking your time with doing your due diligence. Number one, do you really understand the mission and the vision of the organization? The individuals that you are interested in talking to need to be able to really understand that. Do you understand your company culture? As a leader, you are responsible for creating a culture that employees want to come to work to, that look forward to showing up to. Okay. The third piece of that is understand that every employee that you bring on board, you're going to train them on how to do the job, right? We have different systems, we have different processes. They need to have a basic knowledge of the skill set. However, hiring them because of their personal mission and vision aligns with the organization is crucial. There's a difference between hiring somebody because they need a job. It's a difference between hiring someone because you have a need that you need to fulfill. That is a HR nightmare. So you need to take your time, really do your due diligence. Is this individual going to bring value to the team? I'm a sports fan, right? And I will, anybody that knows me, Googles me, has had conversations with me, understand that I am a Dallas Cowboy fan, right? That is America's team, and everybody else is there for the Cowboys to play. And I grew up on the Cowboys in the Tom Landry era. When I look at sports, I look at teams, right? And so just because you're not a good player on this team does not make you a good player. You're just on the wrong team. And so you really have to, as you're going into the draft, as I so-called call it, for your team or your organization, is this person going to be a good fit for the team? Can they play well with others? Like simple basic stuff. What is their communication? What are their goals? What are their missions and visions? Does it align with the organization? If you, and here's the bigger piece: what is their communication style? How do they receive information? One of the things I always tell leaders is, do you know your communication style? I do a personality communication style for every employee that we recruit. Because I know if you communicate this way, being I'm a direct, straight to the point, I'm not a sugar-coated kind of person. If you are hypersensitive, that's not going to work for me. I don't care how well adverse you are in HR policies and procedures, because we're going to clash. And so I'm going to pass on that particular candidate because I need somebody that understands my communication style. And so, as a leader recruiting, you have to be able to understand that. Your HR team needs to be able to understand that. So, I think those are some critical principles that stop hiring for skills and hire individuals that have the similar missions and values that the organization has. And that will be an integral part of your particular team because you're going to train them how to do the job.
So, Vikita, all of that is right on. You definitely want to make sure they fit your culture. But how do you do the due diligence to make that happen? What are the warning signs that come up to say, whoa, wait a minute, this may not work? How do you ensure that?
Well, nothing is foolproof, right? Nothing is 100% foolproof, right? And so I think what you have to be able to do is this. One, you want to do 30, 60, 90-day assessments. Because typically what leaders do is they hire somebody, they throw them in there, they give them minimal training, and now you're trying to hold them accountable. It's very difficult to hold people accountable that they don't know what they're being held accountable to. You got to spend time with a new hire. And so, one, they need to have the basic skill set. I mean, if you're hiring a CPA, you can't be teaching them QuickBooks, like certain things they need to be able to have. But I'm a huge proponent, as I indicated earlier, on communication. And so some people are more electronic communications. Some people don't want to have verbal communications. So that's where that communication testing comes in. A simple communication test will give you some ideas on how that person communicates. The other thing it does, it takes a deep dive to see what kind of challenges that they've had previously. And so when you're looking at that and you're going through and you're evaluating if this is the individual that's going to be right for your team, these are some core, just basic principles that should be, standard operating procedures that you do in order to bring somebody to the team. The other thing too is when you're going through and you're assessing them, you need to have weekly follow-ups. Okay, making sure that they're hitting target markers because you want to make sure that the employee also understands what they're going to be held responsible to, and then not wait for a performance evaluation and say they've missed the mark for the last 6 months, but nobody communicated that to them. So I think if you start with those basic strategies, it will be advantageous in making sure that you have some type of longevity with that particular employee.
So you talked about doing assessments for people to come and just join your organization. And I think the other thing that's key here, this is relevant regardless to what size of an organization you are, because you're creating a culture, whether have 2 employees or you have 1,000 employees, right? It still requires that dedication as you move forward. But you talked about these assessments and alignments and how to make sure that there's going to be a fit. Do you have tests or recommendations of assessments that leaders can give to align to the values and ensure so that any red flags can be brought up in advance versus later on?
Absolutely. So I'm a huge proponent of Enneagram testing. I take one on an annual basis because as you mature, I don't say get older, I just say mature, right? Kind of like wine, the older it gets, the better it gets,
There you
allegedly.
go.
Um, so, how you test in your 30s is going to be different than your 40s or 50 because life is going to teach you some experiences. Your communication is going to change. And so I'm a huge proponent of Enneagram testing. I recommend it to all my clients. I take it myself. And I share the information with my team members when we're kind of going over that. So for me, it does two things. One, it lets me know their communication style and it lets them know my communication style to see if that's going to be a good fit. Number two, it takes a deeper dive into personality traits. Like, how did you learn some of these things? And you'd be amazed at some of the things that people are still holding on to from childhood that's impacting their ability to be a great leader. And so when I'm going through and I'm coaching and developing C-suite leaders, I have them take an Enneagram test because I want to be able to see what are the stumbling blocks to where you can excel as a leader. If I'm getting an abundance of employee complaints about a leader, I'm doing the same identical thing. So Enneagram testing, I know there's different other, communication and personality tests, but this one for me has been the one that I have leaned into 100% because it gives me everything that I'm looking for. And so, the running joke in my office, oh, she's an 8, or this person is a 9. So, it's not a bad thing that we're classified as a number, but at least my team knows, or whatever organization we're working with, they understand that communication style. So it's crucial.
So, tell our audience how they can get that assessment. Where do they go to find it? I think that's great to share a tool that they can use that's really going to help them to excel today.
Sure, they can reach out to us at our website, or they can contact me directly or someone on our team. They can go to info@pcghr.net. We'll be more than happy to provide that with them. If they let us know that they're not a Now Media attendee or watcher, then we'll provide them a discount as well. But I think that's real crucial to be able to kind of go through and kind of look at that. The other thing that I always tell employees or potential leaders as well is make sure you're doing reference verifications, right? We're quick to hire, but we don't have conversations, not an email reference verification. Pick up the phone and not call HR, call their immediate supervisor, their previous supervisor. Hey, tell me a little bit about this person. Tell me, what kind of struggles that they have, what kind of challenges, how did they overcome them, why did they leave? Ask some qualifying questions. The best advice I can give you is be prepared. Be prepared to have these conversations.
Hmm. And I appreciate that insight. And I want to continue as we continue to move forward into the show because I do think that leaders struggle with doing references and doing reference checks because of all the legalities that can come around it, because of policies that companies have. You can't talk about this, you can't talk about that, but really being able to get to the truth and what are some of those other hidden secrets that you can find to really understand moving forward. So we're going to Vikita, as you're sharing your information, we want to help people to understand where they can find out about you and connect with you. Can you share with our audience where that is?
So you can reach out to us at PCG, Paul Charles George, HR.net, or you can reach out to me directly. It's Vikita, Vikita, at PCGHR.net, and we will be more than happy to share a plethora of information with you. I'm a firm believer that knowledge is power and the people perish for a lack of it. And so I want to make sure that you have what you need in order to be successful as a leader, because it's not for the faint at heart.
Amen to that. Up next, we're going to talk about managing conflict before it becomes toxic. And we'll uncover how great leaders address tension early and build trust fast. Stay tuned.